In today's episode of Refashioned, we're discussing the Wisdom Kaye Mew situation and why very funny people on the internet are now calling it to Mew, an update to my apparently controversial opinion on Coach, the viral TikTok that sparked a fashion week event, people using AI to ruin secondhand fashion, and actually that's just the tip of the iceberg. So let's get into it. If you're not familiar with the Refashioned podcast, I'm going to present to you the weird and wonderful and interesting things I've been collecting that have happened in fashion and sustainable fashion in the last month or so. And we're going to analyze it together and digest it. And you're going to tell me your thoughts in the comments, and we're going to have a good time. So make sure to subscribe or follow wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast on, and let's get into it. Okay, first things first, I have to clear the air. I think I was outvoted in my last video when I said that Coach is an online trend only. Apparently this is untrue for everywhere but London, so I'm willing to change my opinion. However, I am not willing to change my opinion on the fact that their marketing is weird and inauthentic. So you've managed to get me to change my mind on some of it, but I'm sticking to my guns on the social media side. Also, while we're on this video, way more of you are wearing capes than I initially thought. And for someone who's never seen a cape in the wild, I have to ask, where are we wearing capes to, besties? Is this like a throw it on to go down and get a coffee vibe? Or is it reserved only for a surprising amount of people going on midnight walks in the woods to a witch meeting or something? I'm very curious, you better tell me. But okay, moving on to our first topic. The Wisdom Kaye Mew situation is the first thing we need to break down because there's actually so much to talk about here. And I honestly am not exaggerating when I say I feel like this is the biggest example of luxury fashion being questioned and doubted online that I've ever seen. But let's start by explaining what happened last week if you don't already know. Basically, Wisdom Kaye, a very popular fashion influencer online, does a lot of great fashion styling videos, dropped $18,000 on Mew and filmed his haul while he was unboxing everything. And whilst he was filming this unboxing, he showed not one, but two items breaking before he could even put them on. One was a $4,000 jacket whose buttons just popped off as he was undoing them, and the other was a zip-up jumper that the zip broke off of. Like I said, he was filming when he was unboxing this, so he put up the video of him breaking these items and then showing them to the camera with the message of, oh, I wouldn't be too annoyed if it was only maybe one item that broke, but both is, I think he put it in slightly more annoyed terms, but crazy. And for Wisdom to put up the TikTok of this and also an Instagram story calling out the brand is crazy. It's a big thing, and I'm sure it had the brand panicking. I'm not entirely sure what happened next. Wisdom said that he managed to get a replacement from Mew and he took down that original video for some reason, maybe because he was worried about his relationship with the brand and wanting to like salvage it and thinking, oh, if they give me a replacement, it's fine, I won't call them out like this. Or maybe he just didn't think it was going to go so viral because at the time he took down the video, it was already at 1.5 million views, and I think he took it down within a day or two. But anyway, people were not happy with the fact that he took down the video. I think people were quite refreshed with the idea that he was calling out the fashion brand, and then to take it down felt a little bit too influency, non-transparent for people. I'm not sure. I'm not in Wisdom's head. I don't know what the motivation was, but I do know that when he posted the video of the replacement he got from Mew, the jacket broke again on camera, and he actually crashes out. Like, everyone in the comments is crashing out. People are immediately comparing it to Temu, and this is where the Temu comes from. And then I think the funniest part of this entire saga happens, which is that Wisdom puts back the original video alongside this video of the replacement breaking, and together they have 15 million views. And the idea that Mew is seeing this and straight panicking because they know that Gen Z is seeing one of their favorite creators expose one of their seemingly favorite brands as poor quality is insane. The entire thing has blown up so much. The entire internet is talking about it. There's been conspiracy theories that Wisdom Kaye has done all this for a PR stunt. There's also conspiracy theories that he did this to purposely call out the brand. And honestly, it's got so wild that Wisdom had to do a clarifying video saying that he wasn't paid for this video. He didn't mean to call out the brand. He just shared his own experience with buying his own clothes. And I get the vibe that he didn't expect it to blow up like this. But honestly, I think it's a major pivotal moment for people realizing that luxury fashion is not what it promises to be. I think the entire situation and the entire reaction to the situation is really interesting because on one hand, it's so unrelatable. I mean, a fashion influencer dropping $18,000 is not something Gen Z is going to be able to relate to in any way. But Miu Miu is a very popular brand for Gen Z. Wisdom is a very popular creator for Gen Z. And I think this is going to have a lasting impact when it comes to the brand. Miu Miu has been like the internet's darling for a while now. A lot of the fashion girlies love it. It's had a lot of popularity. But after seeing Wisdom be very transparent about having a quality issue with the brand, not once, but twice, is going to ruin a lot of that reputation, I think. And I think it's going to mean that this reputation of being poor quality sticks in people's mind. I mean, to Miu is very memorable. And although I think the brand might be thinking Gen Z isn't the big spenders anyway, they definitely have a lot of aspirational pull with the generation and people save up or they invest in pieces from them. And I think they might be worrying about their credit dropping. I think this is something Miu Miu is going to have to come back from rather than sweep under the rug and pretend it didn't happen. Although I think from the responses the brands have been getting to unrelated videos on their socials, this is going to be a very hard pit to climb out of. People are commenting, saying about the 18K for poor quality clothing, asking if they have the same suppliers as Shein or Temu, and just overall questioning the brand. I think it's definitely not helped that their recent marketing on TikTok has been very surreal, not quite the aspirational TikTok it girl that they've become known as, but a bit more weird and alien. And I think people are just mounting this kind of criticism into like, what is this brand anymore? Obviously, also it wasn't helped by the Kylie Jenner campaign. So all in all, I feel like we might be witnessing the crash out of the internet's previous like darling brand. But I gotta say, as someone who's worked in fashion PR before, if I were the person in charge of sending Wisdom his replacement jacket, I simply would have checked the buttons. Like I would have stress tested those buttons a couple of times before sending it back out to a creator that has millions of followers and publicly called out the brand. I'm not sure what happened there, but I would have like personally seen to that delivery, I think. And the fact that they didn't reflects quite badly on the brand, I think, in a lot of people's minds. Like even aside from the whole quality issue and the luxury fashion versus fast fashion issue, the fact they didn't care enough to be a bit more hands-on with this PR nightmare is quite damaging for their brand, I think. And I do have a lot more to say on this situation, especially about the whole quality issue and the fast fashion debate. But I want to put it in that other video I've been promising about fast fashion versus polyester that is coming, and you'll just have to wait for more of my thoughts on this. I don't know. The entire Miu Miu gate is, I think, going to become iconic. I think it's going to be in the zeitgeist for a while, and Miu Miu has a lot of reputation saving to do. Okay, before we move on to the next fashion industry news, I need to share with you something that happened to me recently. Basically, Business of Fashion, a fashion industry newsletter that I speak about a lot on this channel, started a like subsection newsletter with one of their biggest correspondents, Sarah Kent. But the name they chose for this new newsletter was Refashioned, which, if you don't know, is the same name as the podcast you're listening to now that I've been using for the last 4 years. And honestly, I had a little bit of panic about this situation when I first found out about it. I think they launched it 2 weeks ago. It's really new. And I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know whether to drop them a line and be like, hey, besties, this name is already taken. But I also don't feel like I'm in the position to be competing with Business of Fashion. I don't think our readerships are in the same space at all, let alone something they would need to think about, potentially infringing on. So I was kind of going back and forth with myself. Do I say something? Do I bring it up on the podcast and try to get your opinions on it? What do I do? But then literally yesterday, I saw that they changed the new newsletter name to the Frayed Edge or something. They've dropped Refashioned. And I can't help but thinking maybe they did this because of me. Is that egocentric? I don't know. Is my podcast big enough for them to make a decision around not getting our names tangled? especially because we talk about the same subjects. Like, I do think it would be quite confusing, but I also find it hard to believe that I would be the reason they changed the name. I don't know. This crazy situation's been happening, and I was really going back and forth about contacting them in the first place, and then it's like, oh, I don't need to. And it's like, have I been mentioned in a business of fashion meeting? If anyone follows me here from business of fashion and knows what happened, please DM me. Like, I need to know, because the idea that I was mentioned is crazy to me. I mean, they've put my name in articles before, but making a business decision around my podcast, iconic. Like, this would make my year. Anyways, let's move on, because we have to now talk about Fashion Month happening and the coolest event on the calendar that's democratizing Fashion Week. So if you're a repeat listener of the podcast, you might already know about the Fashion Month watch party that went viral last season and had a lot of people standing outside Parisian street, like watching a big screen of one of the shows. That went absolutely viral. Like, people loved it. I loved it. I said on the podcast, like, I think this is really cool and I'd love to go to one. Well, Lias, the original creator who did the original watch party, has made this his thing now. And they just hosted one for London Fashion Week, sponsored by London Fashion Week, no less. Like, this is a big deal. I'm not even sure how they organized the first one, because I saw nothing about it online before it happened. But since that one went viral, this one for London Fashion Week has been getting a lot of media coverage, a lot of talk online, and there was a big hype even before the details were announced. So I was not surprised when I saw the TikToks the next day and saw that so many people had turned up, nor that London Fashion Week was the sponsor. Apparently, even the pub they watched it in was chosen by the designer of the show they were watching. Like, clearly, fashion is taking this seriously. So I feel like I'm justified when I say that this feels like staple in the fashion calendar. Also, we have to briefly talk about the fact that the only requirement for getting into the London event was to wear all black. And I need to talk about the fact that this kind of confirms 3 predictions I've already made this year when it comes to fashion and what's going to be cool. 1, that black is the color of the season. 2, that being in the know about something is back and the new like social currency. And 3, that influencer community events is the next big thing for brands wanting to sponsor something and what they're going to be putting their money into in the future. Like, all 3 things I think are proven by this event, and I just want to say I'm right, I guess. I really wanted to go to the one that took place in London literally last week, but I was busy at the time. Part of me wants to go just to see if the vibe is actually what it seems like, if people are actually like watching the show and critiquing it and talking about it with each other, or whether it's just an excuse for like a party with fashion people who didn't get into Fashion Week. I don't know. If you've been to one of these, or if you plan to go to the Paris or Milan ones that I think he's hosting this season again, then let me know what it's like. I think I might try go if he does another one next season, just for like the experience. I think it'll be interesting to think where this is going to develop in the future, what bigger sponsors they might be able to get, whether they get even more like freebies to hand out, whether this even turns into like more of an event in its own right and you have like designers coming down, or you have like models turning up. I don't know. But yeah, I wish I could sit here and say I went, but hopefully I will next time. Okay, moving on to a topic I think has been discussed a lot on the internet, so I'm not going to dwell on it, but I still also want to voice my thoughts and opinions on, and get your thoughts and opinions on, is the cutting room floor internship scandal and the entire reaction online. So okay, if you haven't heard about this, let's start there. The popular podcast host Retro Armandi recently put a job posting on LinkedIn asking for a studio and booking coordinator for the podcast, and also a personal assistant for her. And the role paid £55,000 full-time in New York without health benefits. And the internet immediately blew up about this. I think every take seemed to boil down into 2 sides. One, that 55k is not enough for someone to live on, and the fact this seems like 3 jobs rolled into one is not okay. And the counter argument to that was, this is the reality of working in the fashion industry. And okay, I did want to talk about this for a couple of reasons. One, personal experience, because I've done many free internships in the fashion industry and I couldn't have done any single one of them without the support of my family. So the way this news kind of devolved into people defending the low paid or non-paid work in the fashion industry that props up the entire system was crazy to me. Defending that as the norm is crazy to me. And this wasn't just people online. I think on her live stream, Amondi was trying to defend the position she put on and the salary by saying that Vogue pays similarly. And I do see the truth in this point. I mean, asking for this much work for this little money is very fashion industry coded, but I don't think it justifies it. And I don't think using the argument that this is how it's done is valid against people complaining that this shouldn't be how it's done. Like I said, a lot of discourse happened about this online. A lot of people have made similar points. One thing I didn't really see being discussed, and honestly the big reason why I brought it up on the channel, is the fact that no one was connecting this entire debate to other areas of the fashion industry. For example, could we imagine this whole debate if the role was for a garment worker rather than a studio assistant, personal assistant for a big podcast? Like, imagine a well-known brand did a LinkedIn post offering the same pay and work they do for their workers in India and China and other textile hubs, and were honest about exactly what that was. Do we think it would have had the same outrage? If everything were written down in a job posting and we could see the amount of work they had to do for a fraction of the salary that the cutting room floor was offering, would anyone have cared? Or is fashion salaries only a hot topic of debate when we're talking about a popular podcast interviewing famous people in the global north? And okay, I'm not saying both discussions aren't important and we shouldn't be talking about fashion industry salaries across the spectrum, but it seems like we're only having one conversation. I've actually already filmed this podcast and then I realized that my mic wasn't working, so sorry if I seem a bit like, let's rush, let's get this done, like I'm late to edit this. So now you know that, let's move on to our next topic, which I teased in the intro. Basically, there's a new scam going around which is making reselling sites a lot more frustrating for people who want to shop on there, and it has to do with AI. Basically, some sellers are reportedly using AI image tools to make photos of inexpensive clothing from places like Shein and Temu look more high-end luxury and therefore increase the price and, you know, dupe people into thinking they're getting something they're not. Sites like Depop and Vinted, dropshipping is already a big issue. However, it does take some effort on the scammer's part in most cases. I mean, normally what happens is they order inexpensive things from the websites or from AliExpress or similar places. They'll put the item on and take more aesthetic pictures, and then they'll upload those pictures and make it all seem like a more enticing package for people that might think they're getting like a vintage item or a small business item, not knowing it's dropshipping. This is the same, but it's so much easier. Like, you don't need to order the item, take your own pictures, edit them and post them. You can just put the original image into an AI tool and then have that do the image for you. If you're a regular watcher of the channel, you know that I'm very anti-AI anyway. But for something like this, where it makes secondhand shopping even more frustrating, dropshipping even more common, I just think it's such a headache and like really frustrating when we're trying to get more people to shop secondhand over firsthand. This is not what we need. I wonder if there's something platforms will be able to implement that stops this kind of dropshipping. But I guess it's useful as a PSA, like, be aware that this is going to become so much more common now and look out for markers of dropshipping sites. Okay, speaking of dropshipping and being able to know when a brand is not what it seems, I had a subscriber send me an email because she noticed some crazy dropshipping scam happening on Instagram and I need to show it to you. And again, it's not the fact that dropshipping is happening that's surprising, it's the fact that this brand has 140k followers. And also the fact that the marketing for this brand, which is called Shop Noir Vert, the marketing is so deceiving. Like, you would think it's any other fast fashion brand from the socials alone. And if you're listening to the podcast rather than watching, I'll try to describe it. Think very like peachy den social media vibes, copying every trending aesthetic on TikTok. The bags that they sell are very trend-led, and so are the clothes they style them with. I honestly think this brand looks more legit than Shein does sometimes. Some of their posts still look like dropshipping, even though they have millions to spend on social media content. Versus this is believable in being like an actual fashion brand. It's crazy. Which is why you need to look at the comments, because the comments give it away every time. On almost every post for this brand, there's people complaining about weird smells from their bags, about a lack of response from customer service when they try to get in touch, about not being able to get a refund, about their comments complaining being deleted. And honestly, the fact that you have to depend on the comments not being deleted to maybe see that things aren't what they are is quite worrying. However, I also think it's a flag that no comments are being replied to at all, even the like positive ones or the ones asking, when are we getting a restock? Like, there's no customer service on this page to speak of. And it's a little weird, I think, that they put this much effort into their visuals and social media presence and then don't even have someone replying to people. But I guess it's good for us because it shows that something's not right. I did do some more digging on this brand. I didn't just want to label them as dropshipping without having some information. And so I went on their website, went on their about section, and honestly had a little giggle because they have a whole section on why their materials are sustainable in air quotes if you're listening, vegan, also in air quotes, and conscious as like the header for their sustainability. And then they dropped this paragraph underneath that. They said, our vegan leather is made from our patented blend of non-animal materials. We incorporate innovative and sustainable elements such as cotton fibers and recycled polyester. The scientific term for our vegan leather materials are PU, polyurethane, and PVC, polyvinyl chloride leather, designed to offer durability, elegance, and functionality without compromising on ethics. Sorry, how are you calling polyurethane a patented blend? It's one of the most common materials used in the fashion industry, polyester being the most common material, and it's just plastic. And I mean, without compromising on ethics, okay, maybe this is ethical for people who don't like to wear animal leather, but sustainable? No. Anyway, I reversed imaged the first bag I saw on their website and found a dropshipping link to Temu. So clearly we aren't too exclusive. Anyway, everyone say thank you to Phoebe for pointing out this scam and educating us about Instagram dropshipping. And finally, let's wrap it up by talking about how H&M are cosplaying luxury again. Well, COS is, and that's a subsidiary of the H&M group, so technically H&M. Anyway, they hosted a catwalk recently and they invited Rosie Huntington-Whiteley to sit front row. And the media was there, and there was one post in particular we have to talk about because their take on it was to compare COS to the row without the 4-figure price tag. And honestly, I thought this might be a satire post until I saw the comments, which were just not having it at all. Someone commented, just like the row minus the quality, which actually interestingly sparked a debate below about the Miu Miu Wisdom Cane situation and how luxury is not luxury anymore, which just reaffirms my point that that is going to be a marker in the fast fashion luxury debate. But honestly, I think a lot of the comments here show that no one has any faith in a so-called luxury high street brand anymore, or luxury fashion as a whole. And so I don't get why fashion is still putting so much emphasis on pushing themselves forward as luxury brands, when clearly people are wise to the fact that that doesn't ensure quality anymore and therefore they shouldn't trust you. I just don't see why H&M are bothering to play it luxury when this doesn't mean anything. No one trusts it anymore. I think COS does have a reputation amongst high street fast fashion brands as being better quality, certainly better quality than H&M, even though they use the same suppliers and a lot of the same materials. But trying to play it luxury feels like, one, a pipe dream, but two, quite useless, because being a luxury fashion brand doesn't mean anything to anyone anymore. And I think their money would be better spent in convincing consumers that they're actually prioritizing better, more sustainable materials or better quality designs that are designed to last, since that's what people kind of want from a more premium fast fashion brand. I don't know, I think if this episode has told us anything, I think it's that if I were in charge of the Miu Miu brand or the COS brand, I would be focusing a little bit less on the perception of luxury and a little bit more on the quality of my items and making sure I can back up my bold claims of being better than Shein or Temu. Okay, and with that, I think we're at the end of everything I wanted to share for you for this episode of Refashioned. Let me know if I missed something out that you wanted me to cover and I can put it in another episode. Let me know your thoughts on everything we did cover today, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel so that you don't miss out on those future episodes. I hope you have a lovely day and we speak to each other soon. Bye!